Welcome to the EOB podcast, where we talk about the weekend box office and the new openings this week. I'm Benno, and joining me is Sen Dong. Hey Sen, you there?
Yeah, still here.
All right, so this is the third weekend that Batman vs Superman: Dawn of Justice is in theaters. So I guess the thing that we will look for the third weekend is to see how much it would drop, because the second weekend there was the Final Four standing in its way.
Right, and it dropped by 69%, somewhere around there.
Yeah, the second weekend.
The second weekend, okay.
Yes. I mean, which was like what we were expecting, right? I mean, the second weekend, when you're dealing with a movie that opened large, that's not unprecedented. Yeah, that's not unprecedented that it dropped so huge.
Yeah, right. So we'll see if the free fall continues.
And then, of course, the movie went against the new Melissa McCarthy comedy, The Boss.
Yeah, over the weekend.
Yes, which both of us weren't very high on. But hey, you know, she has proven that people will pay to see her in anything. That's evidence with Tammy, right?
Right.
And then the other new release, the kind of a new entry, right? A kind of a new genre, kind of like the first person from start to finish, the first person shooter action.
Yeah,
movie?
Action film, yeah.
Yeah, Hardcore Henry. So we'll see how that will do.
Okay.
Right? How about we jump right in? Coming in number one is, surprise, surprise, The Boss. It barely edges out Batman vs Superman. With 23.4 million, we're talking about like UK separating the two movies.
With a budget of just 29 million, so of course it's going to make huge profits for Universal. The thing is, whether or not it's going to stay number one when the final numbers come out today, I'm kind of doubting it, because when numbers are this close, one of the studios will always overestimate just to be number one. And I'm thinking in this case, Universal might have overestimated a little bit, but we'll see by the end of today.
True, but remember when Batman vs Superman opened, it overestimated as well by a lot.
Yeah.
Right? It was like 172, that's the estimation, right? And then when the actual came in, it's actually 166 million.
Yeah, so they overestimated by around 6 million. It was still a huge opening, but it's not the all-time best for, I guess, the month of March. I guess the all-time best was one of the Hunger Games, or was it Harry Potter? It's like 170.
You know, you have to give it to Harry Potter. I don't know the actual number right now, but I think you have to give it to Harry Potter if it's between those two.
Yeah, I think you're right. It is Harry Potter. So The Boss and Batman vs Superman made 23.4 million.
Oh, which was number two movie.
Yeah, the number two movie. There's only about 45,000 separating the two. By the end of Monday, these two positions might switch. Again, Melissa McCarthy and her husband crank out another poorly reviewed, poorly received film, but still ended up doing pretty well. 24.4 million is
23.4.
23.4 million is in Melissa McCarthy's range. I mean, she consistently gets this number.
Yeah, last week I said it would probably do 25. You were a bit down on it. You said 15.
You're right. You're more right.
But I read that there is concern about Melissa McCarthy and her choice to work with her husband.
The thing with this is, I mean, you can understand why they want to work together, husband and wife, spending time together. But a lot of times these things don't work out. I mean, so far commercially it's working out, but...
So far, right?
Yeah, so far. The thing in her favor is, in between these films, she also does movies of other directors, like the director of Spy that Paul Feig, that actually brings her the quality way up, so she can still work with her husband, but as long as she continues to produce top tier quality comedies in between, then I think she'll be okay. But if she only focuses on working with her husband, and eventually it'll catch up to her.
Yeah, people were concerned that working with her husband and turning these poorly reviewed films would damage her brand down the line. I mean, it might not now, but down the line, people might think that, her stuff is kind of inconsistent, and people might think, what's the common thread between these movies? And they would say, hey, it's her husband.
Well, yeah. But you never know with these things. I mean, who knows? Maybe their kind of humor just, appeals to this certain group of people, like Adam Sandler. Adam Sandler, every film he comes out with, no matter what director he works with, is always poorly reviewed. And at his peak, he still drew his usual crowd. and it doesn't matter. So Melissa McCarthy, to her credit, so far in between these movies, she has cranked out other higher quality, better review films with other directors. So she might be in a better position. But, you never know with these things. Even if she continues to produce low quality stuff like this, she might be a comedian like Adam Sandler. Doesn't matter what the critics say. There's a certain crowd of people that just likes their brand of humor and will continue to go out to watch them.
You know what? I think in a sense you are right. I think that's maybe The Boss and Tammy serve a group of people, like you say, that are fans of Adam Sandler, and he's no longer making these type of movies, and that she came in and filled that need. Maybe she's okay.
Well, not exactly that way, but I'm just saying maybe her brand of comedy, like Adam Sandler's brand of comedy, appeals to a certain group of people. Her brand of comedy appeals to a certain group of people. And it doesn't matter what the critics say. They'll still rush out to watch it. Maybe.
I don't know. I think she can probably jump in between the Paul Feig ones.
Yeah.
And then her husband ones, and two different demographic, one more refined comedy, I guess, and one more crude. So I think she can serve both groups of people who are looking for different type of comedies.
Right, exactly.
So maybe you're right, she'll be okay. I mean, even though The Boss is poorly reviewed, there are a certain demographic that likes these type of movies.
Right, exactly.
All right, she should continue to work with her husband as long as she also continues to work with Paul Feig.
Yeah, until we see a droppage. Like maybe the next time she works with her husband, the movie only grosses 10 million. Then you're like, okay, they gotta take a break.
Yeah, the gig is up. People knew what's coming.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll see if The Boss will retain its number one spot when the day's over. Let's move along to number 2, Batman vs. Superman: Dawn of Justice. It pulled in a couple thousand less than The Boss, 23.4 and some change. Let's see, in 3 weekends, it made $296 million.
3 weeks.
3 weeks.
Not just the weekends.
Okay. Worldwide, it's at $783 million, and it experienced a 54% drop. So that's what we were touching upon earlier. So is this doom and gloom for the movie?
The drop is just slowing down, but 54% is still pretty high.
It is, but if you look at other superhero movies, right, by the 3rd weekend, I mean, the drop, the percentage is around that. Even though it's like 1 or 2 percentage point higher, it's kind of that.
Is it?
Yeah. Let me do some comparison, all right? So let's see.
Okay, do a comparison.
What should we compare it to? Okay, right now, the Box Office Mojo has a handy chart with the showdowns.
We can always do something like Deadpool. Deadpool on its first weekend was at 45%. But Deadpool was well reviewed.
Right. Avengers Age of Ultron is 50% in the 3rd weekend. Iron Man 3, 3rd weekend is 50.7%. Dark Knight Rises, 3rd weekend is about 42.5%. So, so it's a little bit on the high side.
Yeah, it is a little bit on the higher side. But at the end of the day, I mean, it's already nearing 800 million worldwide. It's already made about 200 million more than Man of Steel, so you can't say it's a bomb. It's not a bomb, it's not a bomb. We'll see if it gets to 900 million.
Let's get straight to the point, okay? Let's get straight to the point on this. It's really...
It's not DC, a home run. It's not a home run.
No, it's really DC versus Marvel. As a standalone movie, it's decent, but when you compare to the stuff that Marvel is churning out, it's not as successful. And that's what we've been saying all along, is that the Warner Brothers stuff, their superhero movies are kind of dicey. They're not as good, or not well as regarded as the Marvel stuff. And that's what all this thing is about. Batman vs. Superman, even though let's say in a vacuum, it's doing, I think, okay. This is where the fanboy stuff gets in. The Marvel fanboys and then the DC fanboys. They're saying, oh yeah, my movies is better than yours, kind of argument.
Here's the thing though, it costs $250 million to make. It's supposed to be the film that starts this entire DC cinematic universe. So in that sense, I guess the thing is, it's not a home run, but maybe, I guess, it got to third base. Better than okay, maybe even good.
I think good enough.
Yeah, good enough, but not a home run. Let's just call it that.
And I believe Wonder Woman is the next really straight sequel to this movie, right? Not counting Suicide Squad. I'm not counting Suicide Squad because that's a entirely different thing. I think they just try to tie it together.
Yeah.
I think they should actually just jump right into the Justice League movie, but for some reason they want to do Wonder Woman.
Well, they want to crank up, excuse me, like the Marvel films when they made Avengers. It actually gave a boost to almost every individual superhero movie from the Marvel universe that came out since then. So I think that's what they want to do from Batman vs. Superman.
You know, when they announced all these movies, I thought it was kind of rushed.
Yeah, it was kind of rushed. But Suicide Squad is getting a pretty good, decent buzz, though. And from what I read, some of the characters in Suicide Squad might be incorporated into future films.
Possible. I mean, I'm sure they would want to. Turning up into another movie is probably not enough. But you know, it's just see how they execute it on the story.
Oh, not into another movie, but they might incorporate some of the characters there into, like, say, Justice League, or some of those characters there might pop up in future standalone films of other characters, or maybe even individual characters by themselves.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure they would want to.
So, like, you know, the Joker from Suicide Squad might turn up in the next Batman, for instance. From what I read, the people they chose there might pop up in other films.
Well, yeah, getting back to the film, as we both agreed, hey, it's off to, I guess, a decent start. Not a great start, but a decent start.
Yeah,
and,
good enough.
Good enough start.
Yeah.
But then I guess the question is really the sequel, the follow-up movies. We'll see how that goes. And the next one, as we said, is Wonder Woman. I think Wonder Woman will do okay.
Suicide Squad comes first and then Wonder Woman, right?
Yes, but I don't think Suicide Squad will connect it to that much. I think it will have something, but I don't think it'll connect actually to this universe just yet.
Well, I'm not sure. From what I read, it's kind of like part of it, but we'll see.
They will want to be part of it, but I think the storyline-wise, I'm not sure how they tie together yet. Maybe, some character will turn up at the end of the movie and say, hey, Wonder Woman, probably, since that's the next movie, and it'll take off from there.
We'll see. You could be right.
Yeah, so Batman vs. Superman is not a bomb. It's a successful movie in its own right, just not as successful as the Marvel movies.
Right.
All right, moving along.
At number 3, Zootopia made $14.3 million over the weekend. It continues to be super leggy. The drop-off is only about 26%, which is the lowest of all the films in the top 10. After 6 weeks, it's at $296 million. About the same as Batman vs. Superman, and if it continues to hold up this well, it might eventually make more than Batman vs. Superman.
Well, it actually made more than Batman vs. Superman right now worldwide.
Yeah, worldwide is at $852 million, and overseas it continues to hold up really well too, and it actually has a very good chance to hit $1 billion worldwide, which Batman and Superman doesn't look like it's gonna get to based on its current trajectory.
Yes, Batman vs. Superman, I think it's gonna hit 800. I'm not sure if it'll do 900 though.
Yeah, we're not even sure if it'll even get to 900. Yeah, right. So Zootopia is a huge hit for Disney animation.
Yeah, it's gonna cross 300. I'm not sure if it'll get to 400, but definitely it'll cross 300. And when an animated movie makes 1 billion, hey, you're in a good spot.
Yeah. And because it's been so leggy so far, dropping at just mid-20s, that's I'm not sure if it'll get to 400, but never know because it's holding up so well.
Well, it doesn't really have any competition coming up. Maybe Jungle Book, yeah, but we'll see. We'll see. It's 2 different movies though. We'll see.
Yeah, one is not animation, but one was based on an animated classic.
Same demographic, but I don't think they're like mutually exclusive. I think if it's a movie that they want to watch, they'll go watch it. But we'll talk about Jungle Book later. Stay tuned.
All right, we'll see what happens this weekend. We'll see if Zootopia will continue to be this leaky, even despite competition from Jungle Book. All right, let's move on to number 4.
Number 4 is My Big Fat Greek Wedding 2. Made $6.4 million over the weekend, and so far it made $46.7 million. And it's already in its 3rd week already. Like we say, it continues to do well. It opened to 18 million, and then even though it experienced about 43% drop off, it's still going.
Yeah, it's a decent sized hit. I think it's a very profitable film because I read somewhere the budget is pretty low, right? Like 5 million or something like that.
It's possible.
But like, super low budget film.
Even if it's at 15, it's possible as well. It's still doing pretty well at 15.
Yeah, right. It's a relatively low budgeted film.
And like I said previously, this movie might probably in its run, like 55. It could even do 60.
Right. Okay, so the budget according to Wikipedia is 18 million, so pretty good. All right, let's move on to number 5. The other debut over the weekend, Hardcore Henry. It's a, like you said earlier, a first-person shoot-'em-up kind of action movie from STX, the studio behind a couple of hits, The Boy
and The Gift.
Yep, both were decent-sized hits. The Boy made 36 million. The Gift, I think, made over 40 million at very modest budgets. But I'm not sure if they're gonna make much money from Hardcore Henry at just a 5 million opening. It had a per screen average of only about 1,700, which is, pretty low for a release as wide as this. I saw it last week. The reviews were mixed, right? On Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah, before when it wasn't released, it was around 80, and when the rest of the critics saw it, it dropped to 51%.
Right. It's a super bloody, gory. Definitely for guys, and lots of gratuitous nudity, women running around butt naked for no reason, and blood and gore, and it's all played for fun, but still. I actually thought it was well executed, but I'm not sure if I was entertained. I was engaged, definitely, from beginning to end, but I'm not sure if I was entertained.
Okay. You don't know what to feel.
Yeah, I don't know what to feel. It's definitely interesting and unique, and I'm glad I saw it, but I probably won't watch it more than once. And if people ask me if they should watch it, I would give them a, I don't know.
I think a lot of people felt that way too. The cinema score is a C+. And normally people who pay money to watch these movies are usually, action junkies, right?
Yeah.
And even they didn't like it.
Yeah.
I think this first-person thing, it's not new, right? But this is I think the first movie that did it from beginning to end. It's used in spots in other movies, right?
Right. This one, the whole film was like this. I didn't mind it at all. I thought I would mind that technique because I hated the whole found footage shaky cam thing, which just irritates me a lot. But I actually didn't find this as irritating. Maybe because I went in thinking, it's this kind of film, is going to be lots of shaky cam. I'm just going to have to accept it. But for that kind of film, it was pretty well executed. It might be the content. The action scenes are pretty well done. And I think it's kind of like one of those films where it's like the Jason Statham, what's that film where his heart keeps on pumping and he needs to...
Is it Crank?
Yeah, Crank. It's almost like the Crank film. They're in that surreal, hyper, kind of like bloody, gory world. And yeah, it's just kind of in that state from beginning to end. And at the end, sure, you're engaged. But if it was a little bit cleaner, maybe if they toned down the violence a little bit more, maybe if they toned down the gore a little bit more, maybe if the story was a little bit more mainstream, then I feel like it...
I doubt. Okay, here's why I think this storytelling technique is not good for movies. It's because you can't see the main character. You don't know what he's feeling, what his reactions are, and you don't see or feel the other characters from the perspective of the other characters. So it's just like one point of view from beginning to end. And you don't get any slowdown how people, they reflect on the action. It's really just like a video game. Okay, you go shoot this thing up, you blow this thing up, you keep on moving.
Yeah.
There's no feeling involved.
Yeah, you do get the reactions from other people. Yeah, but like you said, you only get their reaction from the point of view of the main character. And you're right though, one thing you are missing is that how that character feels. Yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe the problem with this technique is that with movies, as a main character, if you want to root for the main character, you gotta feel for them. And in this, you don't get that. So you can't quite root for that character. You don't see how he reacts emotionally to things that are happening to him. You only get to see the physicality of it. And maybe that's the problem. because you don't connect with that character emotionally, it's hard to get into it, even if it's action-packed and it's very engaging, seeing all these stuff happening around you.
Right, and like you said that you don't know how to feel because you're actually not feeling what the character is feeling, right?
Maybe that's the problem. Maybe that's the direct reaction to a film like this is that, hey, you don't know how to feel at the end.
Yeah, because you're going through his story from his point of view, but you don't know what he's feeling. Is he feeling happy, sad? You know what? You don't feel that.
Yeah, right. And you see other people reacting to him, but you don't see how they react to him when he's not looking at them.
Basically, you don't really care about this character, the main character, and what he's going through because you don't see how he feels.
Yeah, and you also don't see other points of view from the other characters. You only see him when he sees them, so you don't see how they react when they don't see him.
Exactly. That's why I'm saying it's like a video game. You just go from point to point, blow things up, and that's it.
Right. But nonetheless, I thought it was an interesting experiment. Let's put it that way.
It is, but I don't think there will be another story like this.
Yeah. For someone using this technique, I thought it was well executed. I can't say I was bored, and I can't say anyone sitting through there would be bored.
Right. The movie was projected to open somewhere in the 7 to 10 million range, but it fell kind of short.
Yeah, kind of short. And I thought a lot of it might be the marketing because I didn't even know this movie's coming out until we did our podcast.
Well, it is kind of a niche movie because I don't think the older group would want to watch this movie. I think they tried target toward the young video game crowd, and I think that's where they spent most of their advertising is, like the Twitch channels.
Yeah, maybe because I'm outside of that age group and outside of that demo, I didn't hear anything about it. Yeah, from reading the demo, they got the demo they wanted, but they didn't get anyone outside of that demo. That might be the problem. And the trouble with advertising to these niche groups is that, especially internet, just purely internet play, like Snick on a Plane, for instance. The problem with doing that kind of advertising is the internet, even though everyone uses it, it's actually a smaller group than, like, say, television advertising. Because when you hear about these advertising groups targeting the internet specifically and not going beyond that, the openings are always disappointing.
And I think another point is, do they even see the advertisements?
Yeah, right. I think some people have drawn the wrong conclusions because of the Blair Witch Project, which started from the internet. The thing with the Blair Witch Project that made it such a huge hit is it went from the internet outside to TV. Local news channels were reporting on it. And then local radio stations were talking about it. So it went from the internet and it spread out to the mainstream, whereas if you purely make an internet play and it doesn't spread out, you only get the internet. From the track record of these films that focuses only on the internet marketing, when you don't get beyond that, the openings always tend to be a lot smaller than what is hyped up to be or what is expected.
Right. Also, another point in Blair Witch favor is that it's probably the first of its kind found footage horror movie. Hardcore Henry, people saw it in video games, so it's nothing new.
That's true.
So I think the second weekend does not bode well for Hardcore Henry. It'll drop, 60% or more?
I'm putting the number at 70%. These super hardcore genre movies always drop huge.
Right, and it didn't open well in the first place, and next week more and better movies are coming along, and Hardcore Henry, if it haven't found its audience right now, it's not gonna find it.
Let's move on to another movie that actually found its audience, Miracles from Heaven. It made 4.8 million over the weekend, holding up pretty well. 33% drop off, which is very good. It's made 54 million after 4 weeks of release, at a budget of just 13 million. It's another one of these faith-themed films that, like I said before, found its audience and is continuing to do well and hold up pretty well.
Yeah, and this one has Jennifer Garner, Queen Latifah, a lot of name actors for these type of movies, and it's actually an uplifting movie. So I can see why it would stay in theater as long as it did.
I guess one of the great things about some of these faith-themed films that have been successful in the past is that now they're actually drawing mainstream actors. Because before, these films star a lot of these no-name actors, but because they have been so successful, now the mainstream actors are getting into it because there's money to be made. They're like, oh, these movies aren't going direct to video. These movies are actually drawing a large mainstream audience. now these films are actually getting these mainstream actors, and they're actually doing better than the original faith-based films with no-name actors.
Right, and normally when you see named actors in these type of movies, you could kind of take it as a sign of quality, since they probably read the script and they probably saw something in it.
Right.
Moving along to number 7 is another Christian movie, God Is Not Dead 2. It's a sequel to God Is Not Dead. It did pretty well. It closed at 60 million or so. But the sequel is not doing as well.
I think relatively speaking, is kind of a dud.
It is. It only pulled in 4.3 million in its second weekend, experienced a 43% drop off. The first one, like I said, did 60. This one probably will do maybe half that, or it might not even do half that.
You'll have trouble reaching 25 million. So, like you said last week, maybe the main reason is because Miracles from Heaven did so well. I guess they can only support one at a time. Both of these films came only shortly after Risen, and Risen was a decent-sized hit. So it seems like this group of audience right now, maybe they've seen, they're like, oh, we're getting a choice between these A-list actors and these non-A-list B or C-list actors. So I think we're going to choose the ones with the mainstream actors. Now that they actually have a choice.
And I think they've already seen the movie in the first movie, right? I mean, the first movie kind of touched upon the same thing, right?
Yeah, right.
So they're repeating themselves with God's Not There too.
Right.
Okay, how about we move along to number 8, the third Divergent movie, Allegiant. It pulled in 3.6 million over the weekend, experienced a 37% drop-off, and so far it only made 61 million domestic, and the worldwide figure is 141. Wow, yeah, I don't know what to say.
Again, here's another sequel that is kind of a dud compared to the previous films. It looks like it's only going to pull off about half of what the previous 2 films have done domestically and worldwide. And there's another one coming, so it doesn't bode well.
I think this movie is I don't know, it's 150 plus, right? The budget for this movie?
No, not that high. I think the previous ones were only around 70 million.
I think the first movie was 170 mil. I mean, the first movie was about 70 or so million. Insurgent, the second movie, was 110.
Oh, okay.
And this one got to be a bit higher.
I don't know, because the previous one, although it did well, it didn't do better than the previous film. So I'm not sure if they increased the budget. I think they might have kept the budget similar or less. But like you said last week, maybe the reason for it is because we have all these YA novels that are very similar, like Divergent series, The Maze Runner, Hunger Games, 3 going at once. And there are all these thrillers about these young teenagers playing some kind of reality game type thing. And so maybe it's just overly saturated. Unlike the comic book movies where they're not just superheroes movies anymore. You get comedies, you get action adventure, you get thrillers, you get horror films, you get rated R raunchy comedy. Whereas this one, you just get thrillers. And the same kind of thrillers. Teenagers playing some kind of reality-based game.
Alright, according to the Hollywood Reporter, Allegiant's budget is about 110 million. And the next one is, I heard the budget's going to be cut. Obviously.
I thought they filmed it back to back.
I don't think so.
Okay. Yeah, so this one they might actually lose money on. At 110 million, they'll probably lose money on this.
And if they cut the budget for the final film, I think it just doesn't bode well. I mean, these types of movie, you need money to make it look good.
Right.
So I think they gave up on that fourth and final movie.
They might have to, because unless they're willing to go like 30 million, because I mean, this one looks like it's going to top off at less than 200 million. And in order to make a decent chunk of money on the next one, they have to go like maybe 50 million at most. Yeah,
I think this is one of the case where splitting the third book into 2 movies backfired. I think if they close it out and they close it out strong, I think it might not flop like this.
Don't know.
Well, the first 2 movies opened pretty well, around 50 million, but this one, I think it overstayed its welcome.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean people aren't coming to watch it because it's split up in 2. Maybe like you said before, they're just kind of tired of it. Even if they didn't split it, it might still have bombed.
It could be. I mean, they're probably drained from the Hunger Games.
Hunger Games, The Maze Runner, both of these domestically at least, have experienced drops on the second film. Especially compared to the Hunger Games. I think the Hunger Games, the second film, made more than the first. So we're not sure how this is going to go, but Lionsgate is coming up with the Hunger Games prequels, so we'll see how that goes.
I don't think it'll... Well, look, if the main series experiences drop, I don't think the prequels will do any better unless they kind of lower the budget to maybe in the 20-30 million range, right? I think people are tapped out with the Hunger Games. I don't think people want more Hunger Games.
Yeah, they did tap out, but the Hunger Games are significantly bigger hits than the Divergent series or the Maze Runner.
True, but we'll see. We'll see. I think the Hunger Games series is tapped out. I don't think people want any more Hunger Games, prequels or sequels.
Yeah, they don't want any more, but you're talking about a series that, even though they tapped out at the end, they still gross near 300 million. And worldwide is still at like 700 or 800 million. So even if they tapped out, they can probably still get a worldwide figure of like 400 million. So it's still a decent chunk of money.
Let's just say I'm concerned, but I
think everyone's concerned. Yeah.
Yeah, I would like to see them make it just to see if I'm right or not.
Right.
I'm playing with other people's money here. So make it and we'll find out.
But, the Divergent series, like the next one, you're right. The only way they can make any money is on it is if they lower the budget to the 30 to 50 million range. But if they lower the budget to that much, can they still make these kind of movies?
Well, here's the thing. They lowered because they know the interest has waned.
Yeah. Let's move on to number 9. 10 Cloverfield Lane made $3 million over the weekend, holding up decently, but at these numbers, I guess that's okay. After 5 weeks of release, it has made $68 million domestically. Worldwide is at $94 million. So, this is another hit for J.J. Abrams as a producer.
Yeah. Well, you know what? J.J. Abrams is not above lying to get people in. Remember, he lied about Khan being in the Star Trek movies? That guy from Hitflix asked him point blank, "Hey, is Khan in?" And then, he say no. And this movie, they kind of make a tie into the, the 2010 monster movie, Cloverfield.
Right.
And, it has nothing to do with that.
They
want to draw that in, and, the marketing is kind of like that.
So we got the interest from the fans of the Cloverfield film.
Right. So I think Abrams, you will see. I think you will see more that he's not above lying to get people to watch his movies.
But I think with films where people went in, expected one thing, and went in and got another thing, those films tend to experience huge drop-offs on the first weekend. But I guess the great thing about 10 Cloverfield Lane is, even though it's a bait and switch, the film was strong enough that these people didn't mind being baited and switched.
Yes, that it has to be good enough to stand on its own.
So this film was good enough that people are like, I didn't get the film I wanted, but this is a pretty good film.
Yes, I think if they didn't do that, I don't think anyone would be interested in like 3 people in a cellar, in a basement.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah, it probably wouldn't have captured the mainstream interest.
Right. Okay, number 10 is Eye in the Sky. It pulled in 2.8 million over the weekend, and it made about 10 million so far, and it's already in its 5th week.
And it's holding up pretty well. 29% drop off, the second lowest in the top 10.
I don't think it'll make 50 like typical Helen Mirren, and I'm not sure if it'll even do 25, but who knows.
Yeah, but still, with these kind of movies, 10 million is not bad for one of these platform releases. It's at 10 million so far. It looks like it could get to 20, and if it gets to 20, it's another decent size, modest hit for Helen Mirren.
Yeah, and it keep on expanding theater, opening in more theaters, and I think this is the type of movies that if some extraordinary circumstances were to happen, I think it would get a bump. This movie is about drone warfare, and if there's something about drones in the news, I think this movie would get a bump.
Slight bump,
and we'll get our 50. Oh, another movie of interest is Demolition, the Jake Gyllenhaal movie. I think it opened kind of wideish in 800 plus theaters, and it only managed to pull in 1 million.
Yeah, kind of a dud for Jake Gyllenhaal, who's been pretty dependable with any kind of movie, it seems. But with this movie, just couldn't hit it, couldn't find an audience. It wasn't well reviewed either. I saw the trailer, I forgot what it's about. Something about sort of like one of those films where they have a midlife crisis where, got divorced or lost his wife or something that caused him to re-examine his life. Well, why don't we look just to make sure before I'm spreading misinformation?
I don't think anyone cares about this movie, Sen. So I think you're okay.
But still, I don't want them to go, hey man, you're talking about my movie and you're...
Oh, right. So he is an investment banker who lost his wife in a car crash. And he began to re-examine his life.
Okay, so I wasn't far off.
Yeah, one of these type movies. So, and he's starting to rebuild his life. He came crashing down, and then he's starting to build it up. Yeah, it's a dud for Jake Gyllenhaal. All right, let's move on to the new openings. We have 3. We have the Barbershop sequel, The Next Cut, Criminal, and the live-action Jungle Book movie. So, do we want to start with the Jungle Book?
Yes. It's directed by Jon Favreau.
Favreau?
Yeah, Jon Favreau, who did the first Iron Man and the Swingers. So he's a very good director. He's been critically and commercially successful with both his indie films and his mainstream blockbuster films. And it looks like this one is going to be a humongous hit because on Rotten Tomatoes, there are 21 reviews so far and it's at 100%, which is, very good for a live-action adaptation of a classic animated film.
Well, as you know, Disney has been trying to turn their classic animation into live-action movies. They can't really take out these movies from the vault and throw it out in theaters and expect the same returns. So they had to kind of update them. And the way to update them is through live action.
And they've been doing really well. Most of the live-action adaptations have been doing spectacularly well. Like
I would have to say all of their
all of them have
adaptations.
Yeah, they have grossed over 100 million and have been doing really well. And the Jungle Book looks like it'll continue that trend.
Okay, let me throw out some numbers.
Okay.
Alice in Wonderland opened to 116 million, but that's with Johnny Depp.
Yeah, that's with the 3D craze too.
Yeah. Maleficent with Angelina Jolie opened to 69. Oz the Great and Powerful with that guy.
James Franco.
Yeah, James Franco with James Franco opened to 79. And I think more recently is Cinderella. That one opened to 67. So their openings, without the benefit of someone like Johnny Depp, opened to around between 70 to 80 million, kind of.
Yeah.
So this one looks like I think it'll be in the same ballpark.
Well, this one I think could even do better. I'm thinking it could do 100 million.
It could.
Because Zootopia is already, it's still leggy, but it's already slowing down. Only about 14 million only. There's room for a family film out there.
That is true. I was initially going with the same ballpark because...
Same ballpark as in 100 million? Or
they're typical live-action movies. Like Cinderella, 67, Maleficent, 69.
Okay.
Alice is kind of like the outlier there with 116. Yeah. But you know what? I wouldn't be surprised if it does 100 million, but I'm going to go with the typical opening 70 million.
Okay. You're kind of in the same range as HSX. They have the opening at 74 million, and HSX is pretty accurate. So my 100 million might be the outlier. So we'll see.
The movie looks really good. The animation, the creatures, the animals are CGI. The reason why I didn't say it'll do 100 is because it stars a relatively unknown boy.
Yeah, right. But the trailers look amazing though. And it has good brand because, Jungle Book is a classic. And this looks like a good update, seeing all these things live action does in such an impressive large scale production. When you see this, you can see why the live action update makes sense. You look at it and you go, whoa.
Yeah, they could do this because I guess the techniques is good enough right now.
Yeah, this technology is good enough right now.
The thing is, in a few years, we're going to look back at this movie and say, oh my god, the animation is kind of crude.
Right. Yeah.
So you 100 and I say 70. So I think it'll end up somewhere in between. Could be 80.
Yeah, could be. I'm banking on the reviews. Geez, 100%. And the trailer was very impressive. I was impressed the first time I saw it. When I saw it, I'm like, okay, this live action adaptation makes sense.
Yeah, it looks good, but then this movie is not kind of for everyone because the younger kids might not, might be afraid of these animals. There's this tiger, there's snakes.
Yeah, and they don't look as cuddly and, as in the animated film. When you see these in real life, they actually look kind of scary, like you said.
So there's that against the movie.
Yeah, there might be concerns that kids, it might be a little bit too intense for kids. I can see that. The thing with this is I want to see it, so I don't want to read any of the reviews yet. I just want to look at the percentage and then go watch it and then read the reviews. So I'm not sure what they say about it. What's the rating? Is it PG-13 or PG?
I think it's PG. PG.
Oh, in that case, it might not be that intense.
It might not have any gore, but there is that tiger trying to kill him.
Right, but I think with PG, they can only go so far. Yeah, so it might be pretty safe for even little ones.
Okay, but I'm saying it might not.
Yeah, so you're saying it might scare off some of the little ones who fans of the first films.
Yes, and what I'm saying is that some parents might not want to, or kids might not want to watch this movie because there are intense scenes. I mean, even though you don't see anything, these animals are kind of scary.
Right, yeah, I can see that.
Let's move on to Barbershop, the next cut.
Sure. The first film was a hit. The second film, was it a bigger hit than the first or about the same?
It did a bit less. The first film made 75. The second one did 65.
Okay, so not too bad. How long was it since the last Barbershop movie?
Do we count Beauty Shop, that spin-off with Queen Latifah?
Oh yeah, that did decent too, right?
That did only 36. I think okay. I mean, it's like one of these comedy that doesn't cost a lot to make. It's okay. So if we count that, it's in 2005. So it's more than, I don't know, 10 years?
Right. Might be a bit long, huh? But there is a lot of room for an African-American film in the top 10. Because Meet the Blacks didn't reach that audience. So I think this could be, even though it's been so long since the last one, could do pretty well. Do you think this can do 20?
My range is 15 to 20.
Okay, yeah, I'll go on the upper end of that. How's that? I'll do 20.
I haven't seen the other movies, but this one seems like it's a bit more serious than the other movies.
Right, I saw the first one. I don't remember if I saw the second one.
Yeah, that was a long time ago. I mean, yeah. But this one has Nicki Ninja.
Oh, Nicki Minaj.
Her name? Yeah, Nicki Minaj. Ice Cube is pretty reliable.
Yeah, yep, in these kind of films, yeah.
Right, but this one, has a more serious tone to it. So that's why if you were say, hey, give me a straight number, I probably have to do the lower end, maybe 15.
All right, let's go with Criminal.
Oh, Criminal! Kind of a weird movie for me because
there's these stars that have been in recent hits, like Deadpool.
And flops. And look, Kevin Costner, Ryan Reynolds, Gary Oldman, Tommy Lee Jones, Gal Gadot, Alice Eve. I would say a good cast, but here's the weird thing. This movie bears a similarity to that Ryan Reynolds flop, Selfless.
Oh, right, yeah, flop.
That also star Ben Kingsley.
And this one on Rotten Tomatoes is, even though there's only 5 reviews, it's at 0%. So things aren't looking well. On the trailer, they feature Ryan Reynolds and they feature Gal Gadot a lot. As they should be, because they're both in these two humongous comic book movies. But yeah, Kevin Costner hasn't. I mean, he's been doing these thrillers and have been pulling in a modest audience, decent. Like they open in the 8 to 10 million range, which is for him nowadays is actually decent. And this one, I don't know. I'm not sure if Ryan Reynolds and Gal Gadot will help this move beyond that.
Well, just to be clear, the lead is Kevin Costner. So he stars as, I guess, one of these assassins or special operation guy. And I think he has some memories implanted of him, of some other guy.
Yeah, the Ryan Reynolds character.
That's why I'm saying it bears this similarity to that Ryan Reynolds flop, Selfless. The Reynolds character got embedded his memories from Ben Kingsley. It's kind of similar, so yeah.
Right. So what are you thinking? I'm actually thinking like 5 million.
No, I'm going to go a bit higher, 10. But I don't see it doing better than 10.
Yeah. especially with such poor reviews so far.
Poor reviews, and you don't see anything that jumps out at you in this movie.
Yeah, looks like one of these vanilla high concept movies.
All right,
so I guess we'll see how big the Jungle Book gets.
Yeah, I could see it make above 100 million, but I'm just going with the safe estimate of 70.
Yeah, so I guess we'll see this Friday.
Yeah, so that's the thing to keep an eye on, is how big the Jungle Book will be.
And then the other two movies, I mean, Criminal, Barbershop probably do its usual numbers.
Yeah, it's just a sequel for the sake of a sequel.
Yeah.
It's dependable continuation of a story that people watched back in 2004, if you don't count Beauty Shop.
Right. Okay, we'll see you guys next week.